What do you get when you combine a model student, a love for free market anarchy, and the digital underworld? Apparently, a $1.2 billion online drug empire. This is the story of Ross Ulbricht, a former Eagle Scout who believed in freedom, free markets, and personal liberty, so much so that he created Silk Road, the Amazon of illegal narcotics. Yes, a literal Boy Scout turned black market kingpin, and it all ended in a dramatic FBI sting at a public library. Let's peel back the digital curtain and dive into one of the most bizarre and fascinating crime stories of the internet age. Ross William Ulbricht was born in Austin, Texas in 1984. His parents raised him to be polite, studious, and community-minded. He was the kid who followed the rules, at least at first. He volunteered, he recycled. He earned an Eagle Scout badge like it was a golden ticket to adulthood. He studied physics at the University of Texas, then earned a master's in materials science from Penn State. His friends described him as smart, intense, and deeply interested in philosophy and politics, especially libertarianism. He loved the writings of Ron Paul and the economic theories of Ludwig von Mises. To Ross, the government was a bloated middleman, and markets should be left alone to do their thing. Now here's the twist. He wasn't just reading these ideas, he wanted to build them. In 2010, frustrated with his career and obsessed with freedom, he wrote in his journal that he wanted to use economic theory as a means to abolish the use of coercion and aggression amongst mankind, which I guess meant selling drugs online. In early 2011, Ross launched Silk Road. It was a revolutionary idea, a completely anonymous online marketplace powered by Bitcoin and encrypted browsing through the dark web. On the surface, it looked simple, but under the hood, it was like the digital Wild West. You could buy weed, LSD, even forged documents without ever showing your face. No names, no cash, no cops. To protect his identity, Ross adopted the alias Dread Pirate Roberts, named after the legendary rotating identity from The Princess Bride. You know, because quoting a fantasy movie while running a narcotics empire is somehow peak millennial criminality. But Silk Road wasn't some chaotic black market. It was organized, clean, with user reviews and seller ratings. Think Yelp for felonies. Ross enforced rules. No child porn, no stolen goods, no assassination services. Just drugs. Lots and lots of drugs. At its peak, Silk Road had nearly 1 million registered users and processed over $1.2 billion in transactions. Ross had built a thriving global business empire from his laptop. But here's the thing about empires. They attract attention. And when that attention comes from the FBI, the DEA, and Homeland Security, things were about to go downhill fast. With Silk Road exploding, Ross couldn't do it alone. He brought in moderators, admins, and developers. But like any startup-turned-criminal syndicate, trust was hard to find. Soon, users began to scam, blackmail, and betray each other. And that's when Ross made a choice. To protect his empire, he allegedly crossed a new line, ordering hits on people he thought were threats. In one case, he allegedly paid $150,000 to have a Silk Road employee killed for stealing. Another time, he supposedly ordered the murder of someone, threatening to reveal user info. Now here's the kicker. None of the murders happened. They were likely scams. But the messages, the payments, the intent, it was all there, in writing, on his laptop. Whether or not Ross truly wanted people dead is still debated. But in the eyes of the law, it didn't matter. Those messages painted a damning picture of a man willing to kill for his business. For 2 years, federal agencies quietly investigated Silk Road. They tracked the site's servers, watched Bitcoin transactions, and even created fake accounts to make purchases. But catching Ross wasn't about kicking in a door. It was about catching him in the act. In October 2013, Ross walked into the Glen Park Library in San Francisco. He opened his laptop, logged in as Dread Pirate Roberts, and started managing Silk Road. What he didn't know was that undercover agents were sitting just feet away. At the perfect moment, one agent created a diversion, while another snatched his laptop, still unlocked, from Ross's hands. Inside, they found chat logs, journals, spreadsheets, the Silk Road source code, everything. It was the digital equivalent of finding a mob boss's entire ledger, handwritten and signed with a smiley face. So what happens when a quiet libertarian builds an illegal empire and gets caught red-handed? You hit him with everything you've got. In 2015, Ross Ulbricht stood trial in a federal courtroom in Manhattan. The prosecution called Silk Road a global criminal conspiracy. The defense argued Ross was a scapegoat for a larger, more anonymous network, but the evidence was overwhelming. Ulbricht was found guilty on 7 charges, including conspiracy to traffic narcotics, money laundering, and computer hacking. The judge not pulling punches. Ross was sentenced to 2 life terms plus 40 years, with no possibility of parole. It was one of the harshest sentences ever given for a non-violent offense. The courtroom was stunned. His family was devastated. His supporters, including many in the crypto-libertarian community, called it excessive, even cruel. To this day, Ross has never seen freedom again. But maybe the biggest question in this whole story isn't about guilt, it's about regret. Was it worth it? Ross Ulbricht built something revolutionary, something many say forced a national conversation about drug policy, internet freedom, and digital privacy. But he also broke federal laws, empowered dangerous sellers, and in the end, threw his entire life away chasing a utopian vision. He never bought yachts, never popped bottles in clubs, never fled to a tropical island with a fake passport and a backpack full of crypto. He just kept coding, kept writing in his journal, kept believing in the system he created, and now he's a cautionary tale. Whether you think he's a digital martyr or a misguided criminal mastermind, one thing's clear. This isn't just a story about drugs or Bitcoin. It's about ambition, ideology, and the razor-thin line between being a visionary or a villain. What do you think? Was Ross Ulbricht a criminal mastermind or a guy with a dream who went too far? If this story had you on the edge of your seat, smash that subscribe button. We've got more wild tales of tech, crime, and the weird side of the internet on the way. See you in the next one.